Welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. My name is Kelly, and on my channel, I focus on food. Fridays is all about freeze drying. So last weekend, I went to the farmer's market and I stocked up on as much eggplant as I thought that I would need to get me through the winter that I didn't get out of my garden. I ended up buying a bushel and a half. I did a bushel of the globe eggplants and half a bushel of the long, skinny, like Chinese string type eggplants. I got the globe eggplants dehydrated into about a gallon and a half. And today we are going to be focused on the string eggplants, and I'm going to freeze dry those. Now, I know I've already done eggplants. I've done eggplants that you can use as breadcrumbs. I've done eggplants powdered down into flour. But today I'm going to keep them intact. I have a dish that I absolutely love, my favorite eggplant dish. And I did recently do a video on that, and I will post that up here. It's timestamped so you can see where the eggplant is, but it's a beautiful dish. I did not invent the dish. I saw it on YouTube, and on the video I credit the creator for that. But I am switching it up just a little bit. So this is eggplant that first I washed, and then I just cut the ends off. And then I just slice them kind of into rounds at a little bit of an angle. And normally at that point, I would put olive oil on them and get them roasted. But since we are doing freeze drying, I decided to give them a good soak in some broth and then just roast them after they had been soaking in the broth. Now, this is the third batch that I have done. So in total, we got 4 freeze dryer trays. And I think the first three batches were a little bit fuller than this one. But anyway, they roast in the oven for about 15 minutes on 400 degrees. And then I flip them and I put them back in for 10 minutes. They end up smelling amazing. And I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to take these out of the freeze dryer and use them exactly the same way that I would when I make this dish fresh. So let's take a look and let's get going. So these eggplants are totally frozen. This is the size and the shape that I cut them down into. This is how I cut them when I make them fresh. And again, these are those kind of fairy tale or long, like Chinese string eggplants. I've also made this with the globe eggplants. It turns out just as good, but I'd like to have a little bit of variety. So eggplants are an amazing food for your health, and I am thrilled that I think for the first time I have enough to get me through the entire winter with now 5 different ways of preserving eggplant. So let's get these in and let's see how they turn out. Freeze dryer is ready to go. It's been cooling down for about 18 minutes. These look lovely. They look so good. Now I just need to close the drain valve. Hit continue. And now this is going to go into the freezing phase, and that's not going to take long because these are already frozen. Then it's going to go into the sublimate phase where it's extracting all of the liquid inside of the food in the form of gas, bypassing the liquid state, which is how freeze drying preserves food without damaging the cells. So it doesn't change in structure or in size. Then it's going to go into a dry phase, and it's going to go into an extra dry phase. I have this set at 10 hours of extra dry time. I find that that works well for me with where I live and the food that I do and how I load my trays. So I'll bring you back when they're done, and we are going to see if I can rehydrate these into my favorite eggplant dish. Eggplant has been freeze drying for just under 33 hours, so I'm going to open the drain valve. All right, let's see if these dried. These are totally dry. Even though eggplant has a lot of seeds, I have no doubt that these are good to be packaged up. They even held their shape really well, although we'll see what happens when we get these rehydrated. Speaking of, let's get these to the kitchen and let's see if I can turn these back into my favorite eggplant dish. All right, let's see how we did. I am really excited to have this. I love eggplant. The first thing I'm going to do is put some in a bowl so we can get this rehydrated. I'm going to go with a couple small pieces and a couple of the larger pieces, and we'll see how it turns out. I've got some hot water here. I'm going to pour a little hot water away from the dishes in case I spill. Just a little bit of hot water in here. You can use cold water too. I just think hot works faster. I might be wrong, but that's what my brain tells me. And since this dish is made with a sauce that uses red wine vinegar, I'm also going to put a little splash of red wine vinegar in there. So that it can soak that up as it's rehydrating. This is a phenomenal tasting side dish. I actually have some in my fridge right now because I've been making it quite regularly. It is absolutely delicious. And for the rest of these, I'm going to be using a 1 gallon glass jar. And I'm just going to get them in there. Eggplant is loaded with antioxidants. They have both polyphenols and anthocyanins. And the anthocyanins actually are a really good protector of your heart because they prevent your LDL cholesterol from oxidizing. They're also anti-inflammatory. So they are a beautiful addition to my personal diet based on my health history. And I personally think the taste is phenomenal. They're so versatile. When they're roasted, the flesh inside is just so incredibly creamy. They can be used as a meat replacement in a lot of dishes. They're just lovely, as long as you find a way to prepare them that really speaks to you. And this dish did that for me. But since I made that dish and fell in love with eggplants a handful of years ago, I now use them for a lot. I've been doing actually a lot of eggplant preservation this summer. I've even sliced them into rounds and breaded them and then fried them, stored them in the freezer in a single layer on a parchment paper, and that made it really easy to then pop them off and stick them into gallon Ziploc freezer bags so I can pull out just as many as I want to use. Top it with a little marinara sauce and some mozzarella cheese after it goes through either back through the oven or through an air fryer to heat up. It's a quick, easy, nutritious, absolutely delicious snack, appetizer, or dish. I've also done the eggplant pieces, big eggplants where you just slice them about 1/4 of an inch thick. And I roasted those and then again froze them in a single layer on a piece of parchment paper and then put those into a larger Ziploc bag once they were flash frozen. And I can use those for eggplant parmesan, re-roast them in the oven, get them soft. They're just delicious. So with the addition of now these, I think that I am done with my eggplant preservation for the year. If you have seen my other Freeze Dry Friday videos on eggplants, you know that I also did a large quantity that I then just kind of smushed up a little bit to use as a breadcrumb replacement. And that was roasted eggplant. And then I did the same thing, roasted eggplant, but then powdered it down. So I have a gallon of eggplant flour now to use. And I use that as a substitute when I'm, baking or deep frying something to use as a coating, which just cuts down on the overall carbs. And you can do that with other vegetables as well. You can do that with some winter squash. You can do that with summer squash. You can make flours that you can incorporate into your diet after they have been freeze dried. To boost your nutrition and then also cut down on your carbs and calories. All right, so this is ready to go. I'm just gonna stick this in my cupboard. I'm not gonna put an oxygen absorber in here. These glass jars, and especially with how dry the food is, these are gonna be just fine. And I can just pull from this as I want over the winter, as long as this rehydrates the way that I am hoping it will. Let's see how it's doing at this point. I can pull from it all winter and have my favorite dish. Okay, we are about halfway there, and that's been maybe 5 minutes, maybe. So I'm gonna give this another 5 minutes and then we'll take a closer look. I'll doctor it up with the rest of the ingredients that I would normally serve it with, and we'll give it a taste. All right, let's see how we're doing. It looks to be soft. I haven't touched it yet though. There's quite a bit of liquid on the bottom of here. If I had more in this bowl, I would leave that because you do want this to be a little saucy. I'm not gonna worry about how much is in there for this right now, but what I add to this is a little bit of olive oil. Just a little tiny drizzle because there's only a few pieces in here. A little bit of garlic, and normally I would use fresh garlic, but we're just doing this kind of on the fly with a little taste test, so I'm just going to put a little bit in. The red wine vinegar, but we already added that for the rehydration process. A little bit of fennel seed. This mixed with the vinegar is absolutely incredible. And then, because I like heat, a little bit of red pepper flake. All right, we're going to mix this together and see how we did. I have really high hopes. Feels soft. Let's compare this to what I have in the fridge. All right, there's not much left in here. I made this a few days ago and I did not use the little skinny eggplants for this. I used the big ones, but you can see how soft it is. You can see that the olive oil has kind of solidified in here with the other ingredients, which I found unusual, but hey, and this is incredible. I've been eating this every single day all week. This was massively full, and this has just been my little bit of side dish for dinner this week. So you can see that these are very, very soft and roasted, roasted down. These are also, now they seem to be very, very soft. I don't think they're 100% hydrated yet, but I think they're hydrated enough for me to tell whether or not this is going to work. All right, I'm going to take a bite of the non-freeze dried one. That's so good. All right, now high hopes for this one. Got a little piece here. It did maintain most of its shape, which is nice. Okay, the vinegar is a little overpowering on this. Next time I do it, I will add just a tiny bit of vinegar and let it rehydrate mostly with water. I'm not noticing much of a flavor in here from the chicken broth that I used to roast this with. Yeah, I think it's just all the liquid down here with a lot of vinegar on it. But I'm thrilled. This worked great. Now, when eggplants are out of season, that was all of them. As eggplants are out of season over the winter, I have a lot that I can still have my favorite dish with while I wait for next season's eggplants to start coming in from the garden. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Tasty Tuesday, roasted eggplant sliced edition. My name is Kelly. You're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you come back and visit again soon.